All right, everybody. If you in the chat or on the live, just go ahead on and say what up to Raima, and actually drop in the comments or in the live comments to say what are your insecurities. As we get everybody situated, I'll be right back. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and give me a thumbs up because that's how I gotta get famous. So anyway, see you guys in 2 minutes. All right. Welcome back, everybody. So, um, thank you for the comment. So today I have a wonderful guest who has been on season 2, episode 24. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, where we were talking about some fun things. I cannot remember right now. Don't apologize.
I think we talked about all the things.
Yes, we talked about all other things. So, how you doing today, Raymond?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Anthony. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. So if you can just kind of give people a quick, brief background about yourself and what are you doing right now with Intentionally 360?
Sure. My name is Raima Carpenter, and I am the founder of Intentionally 360, which is about being intentional about decision making in all areas of your life and understanding that when you make an adjustment in one area, it impacts other areas. So this summer, I'll be working on my first book. And we'll see how far I get. I'm not necessarily committed to finishing it up, but that's kind of my goal for this year. And I only have until the end of August because then I'm back in school where I'm working on a doctorate in strategic leadership. So I do that also. I can pass on the things that I learned to other people, and I get joy out of watching other people achieve their goals. So thanks again for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. Hopefully I spelled everything for the owner of Intentionally 360. So
have another drink.
I know this is what happens when you start off with a little bit of drinking early on.
During our last time we were together, we talked about the DISC assessment.
Yes.
DISC for the listeners, and so with that, my personality type, I'm kind of like, that's close enough. So for somebody who's big on attention to detail, that can be a little bit frustrating, but it takes both of us, and we can create a better solution. So it's all good.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that we all have one of those problems with, which is trying to understanding of where do we fit in life. and how do we actually navigate it as a whole? Because obviously we got societal norms, and then we have our community norms, and then you have our cultural norms, and it's so many different norms. And how do we actually navigate that without feeling some type of way that we are not living up to those expectations? So when it comes to like insecurities, like I have a lot of insecurities. For one, going live and making sure that my mic worked, because last last week was a show to laugh at, because for some reason my mic was not working the whole show. So as soon as I got done, it started working, and I'm like, "Are you serious?" So having that insecurity to come on live with you today, that is one of the things that I have. So what is it about being insecure is that you've seen that a lot of people are missing out on?
Well, I think from what I observe as a coach and mentor is self-selection out of opportunities. So people will disqualify themselves and they won't apply for a job or put in for promotion. They won't start the next project because they're afraid of failure. And it's understandable. I mean, I've certainly had those same experiences, and it's easier on this side of that conversation to be like, okay, well, let's break down those fears a little bit, and what's one step forward that you can make that um, you're 100% confident that you could do that. It's such a small, easy step forward that you're like, oh yeah, okay, well, I could do that. I may not be able to do that big thing over there, but I could do that little thing. And then for me personally, um, I'm pretty good with my self-talk. um I don't believe in beating up on myself, so I that's something that I've practiced for a number of years, of when those negative thoughts creep in, that I practice countering those with something that's true. I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and she was talking about how she made a reference to something about being, oh, I'm old and irrelevant, I think is what she said.
Old and
And
irrelevant.
right, and so she's less than 10 years older than I am, I call her within sibling range. She's somebody that I really value, one of my mentors, and a friend. Um, but I know this person. She hangs out with people who are about her daughter's age. And so they'll come over, she, will watch their children, they hang out with her, they'll have dinner with her, and so I'm like, "That's an interesting lie that is being whispered in your ear." And, um so it's those kind of things. And for me lately, it's um, what value do I bring to my 9 to 5?
Right.
And I have really competent people around me, which is great. I'm actually not experiencing a lot of work stress, which is unusual and great. And but at the same time, I'm like, well, does my boss really need me? Do the people who work for me, do they really need me? Like, what am I even bringing to the table? And so that's my current struggle right now. Whereas, my last job, like, I knew people needed me. There were so many challenges and so many complexities, but now I'm like, I don't know. They don't really need me.
Well, isn't that kind of what you want? Um, as you grow into your position, it's kind of like, the people don't really need you, so you can kind of replace yourself to move on to that next level.
Well, if I can be like raw with, I want to be the one
Oh,
to help people grow.
okay.
Like, I want to contribute to somebody's success. I want to mentor people. I want to give them development opportunities. And like, they don't need me. Like, it feels like that. I know I bring value, but not in the way of like when people I guess I like people when they're a little bit messy, and I have healthy people. So maybe that's it.
It's
Or
like you being a fitness instructor and everybody's fit. It's like, what am I here for?
that's a fair analogy. Well, I think, you can always get stronger.
Mm,
Um, yeah, that's really interesting. We talked about Tina Peratino, the owner of um, Center Stage Athletics. We didn't talk about a gentleman named Ryan Miller, who owns Growth Stimulus Training.
mhm.
His training protocol was so effective that I actually had to stop because I was putting on so much muscle. It was at 38 at the time,
Right.
that it was kind of outside of my physique goals. And so I totally recommend him. He's a really cool guy. He's I'm located in Maryland. He's not in Maryland, but I've met him several times. Really cool person, very knowledgeable person for somebody else who wants to put on that much muscle. That's interesting. Sorry, side note there. But that's another insecurity, right? Is body insecurities.
Well, for body insecurities, can we just take a quick moment to look at our hairs for a hot second? Because
Yeah.
put in a lot of work into that. All right, you ready to go?
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Hold on. I just want to bring that out.
I didn't think that we'd be able to do that this time. Thank you. Yeah, and I got a little bit of color in there. I didn't have that last
Oh
time.
yeah.
So,
Talk about the insecurities. I mean, like, to kind of have that, I guess you could say the strength to, or the confidence in yourself to kind of go that extra mile to kind of add in that splash of color to, one, cut your hair short. And for me, I just got tired of looking at the photos of my hair just kind of bushy out here, and I couldn't figure it out. So I was like, let's shave both sides to see what it looks like. And that's what I did. I've liked it for the past, since 2019.
Mm-hmm. Well, I met you and I was like, I love your hair. I'm going to do my hair like Anthony's. I'm pretty sure I told you when I was going to do this. I think I told you about it. So I'm not completely joking. I was like, oh, I like that. Like, but the back, this is relatively new where I brought it down to the back. I hope it looks okay because I didn't.
Let me
the back.
Let me do a solo. Let me do a solo so we can get it. All right, go ahead.
I love you.
So I did mine as a box in the background. Mm-hmm. Just I tried it out with the point. I thought it pretty cool, but I decided to do it on and just do the box just to make it a little masculine side of the house. Mm-hmm. But I had it as a point at one point, but it was just I didn't like the way how it came to a point, so that's the reason why I switched it over to the box. But yeah, because like you said, like with body image, it's one of the things that from you yourself and your expertise of living intentionally, to then find the confidence in yourself to actually take yourself to that next level of, all right, you know what? I am who I am. I be who I be. And that's what's going to be, and just kind of live with that. How do you help encourage people to kind of bring that out in them?
So I think it's helping people to understand their core values. Like, what are you about? What is your worldview? What is the lens through which you perceive things around you? Your worldview can shape your moral framework. So that when you say like, this is how something should be, or that, something shouldn't be that way, those come out of that place. And so I think if you understand that, then you can see how the rest of your goals and actions align with that perspective. And when you can look back and say, you know what, I am operating with integrity, or you can acknowledge that I know this is really something that I value, and I'm being pressured to operate in a space that doesn't align with who I am. For like, when it comes to authenticity, it's interesting. I read an academic article where they were talking about how authentic leadership fluctuates daily, meaning that like that strong sense of self and operating outside of that strong sense of values, right? And I realized that like that's me. Like, I can have days where like I know I'm unapologetically operating within my value systems, and there's other days where I step outside of that. It could be driving I'm a little bit more hostile than I would prefer to be. It could be with my kids. I actually like yelled at my 12-year-old this week, which I don't like raise my voice at my kids. I'm extra. I know that's shocking, but I might be like, what? What? Say something else. That's what I thought. I might do some of that. Some of that.
Hell no.
Yes.
Right.
But I had to elevate my vocals and say, you need to stop talking. Because she wanted to voice her thoughts on a situation when it was time for her to listen, not to speak. But that's outside it. I think it was appropriate for the situation and as it had escalated to that point. And I'm the parent, we're not friends. We enjoy hanging out together, but I have an obligation to send somebody out into the world who can act right. Right. Because parents, please don't send your kids out into the world when they can't act right. Okay. So I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna try. I mean, no, sorry, world, no promises, but I'm putting in effort. But
emotional damage.
I'm sorry.
But that's like, I was exhausted for the rest of the day. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
No. Hi, Mom. So like with that acting, it's inauthentic, even if it was appropriate. So you could have, so I think that's kind of like a good starting point. And then the other element outside of authenticity with your values is your straight up insecurities. It's the negative self-talk. It's the negativity that other people spoke over you, or that you speak over yourself. And so like if I'm mentoring somebody, if I'm coaching somebody, I can usually kind of pick up on the nuanced difference, where sometimes, like in the example I was talking about my girlfriend earlier, right, that she just said this comment, and this is how I do, right, where I'm like, let me just poke at that a little bit, like that's not true. Like it's not kind and loving to let you walk out of this conversation believing that lie about yourself.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I've been working with people on, is that, I'm used to it. And this is the way how it normally happens to me. For some reason, I can never get it right. And all the time it's, things look right and then they don't. And then so they have that insecurity of, hey, I am not worthy of being anything more than whatever society gives me. And not realizing, like, hey, society offers you a lot more. It's just the people that are in your environment are surrounding that. So how can we change that normal wording to say, hey, this is how things typically happen for me?
Do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like
No,
you
no,
can just answer the question, Raima, that's fine.
Yeah. I can ask. I can go. Because I was thinking about it for myself. It's like, I'm always being told no for some reason, or like I might not have the resources, or like when I was growing up, I remember the first time of when I actually stole some stickers. My mom is actually here. This is my mom. Hey, Mom. She actually, when I told her I stole some stickers, they were the hologram stickers because I really wanted them from the corner store. She actually, like, I got all the way home from the corner store and I was like, hey, man, I got these stickers. And she was like, where'd you get that from? So after a nice long beating with the belt, we walked back to the store and I tried to give it back to them. And they said, no, 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 you keep. My mom was like, no, you turn them back. And then she pretty much hit me as we were going back to the house. So it kind of one of those senses of like, how can I, or how can you actually move on from those childhood memories to kind of like, you know, this is moving on from, yeah, just pretty much moving on and accepting the childhood memories. Like it doesn't impact you today. Like what? Because like right now, me personally, I actually move things. I move a little differently now. Like, okay, well, if I can't have it, I try to figure out how can I have it, and who has the pen or the power to make it happen. And that's how I kind of operate now. Um, because I didn't have things before when I'm told no to from somebody. So
Yeah, I think so if we're talking about things that happened when we were younger, I operate in the space of what do we do going forward. And so I just want to make the distinction between, like, if you have some um, deep-rooted insecurities that stem out of, childhood trauma or just negative experiences, then I think therapy is a great thing. I say that with all hypocrisy because I like to stuff my stuff way down in there and let it come out at an inconvenient time. I do not recommend that course of action. I'm just keeping it real with how I operate. But as far as pressing forward, I'm gonna speaking of insecurities, like an error when you're live. That's right, 'cause I'm a friend, and I'm gonna kind of let you know.
One little thing,
Okay. Everybody just talks amongst yourselves real quick. Right. But moving forward to practice that truth. So you could do that through affirmations or declarations. I think declarations, I think I probably picked up that vocabulary in my church environment, but for affirmations, I think is maybe more of a common term. But so, for example, I really had to work through my insecurities as a mom. And so it's been a while at this point, but it was something that I knew I had to work through. And I had, to share, I had an experience where I was praying about it. And, we were, it was like this day at church, and it was one of those days where I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't really feel connected to the message. And so afterwards, the pastor was like, okay, well, just, ask God, what are the lies that you're believing about yourself? So I'm like, okay, hey God, what are the lies I'm believing about myself? Not expecting to hear anything. And, but I felt God clearly telling me, he's like, that you're a bad mom. And so there I was just having a moment at church, and I started like crying. My husband's like, can I get clean up my house? So help. Somebody come over here. Because I mean, he's probably seen me cry maybe 3 times ever, like in the decade we've been married. And so that's not typically how I emote. And but so from that point, I knew I had to do something differently. And so I don't remember it at this point, but for probably a year, I had it on a yellow sticky. I put it on my mirror, and I wrote, I am a good mom. Mm-hmm. I pay attention to my children when they want to talk to me. And where that was for me was that I found even now, I didn't lock my door for today. I thought about locking my door, but if my kid wants to bust in here, then that's real life. And I think that the people who are watching, who are listening, can relate to that. I appreciate you, Anthony. I feel spiritually connected to you. But my baby I put before you, right? So if she comes in here, I apologize. I will not let her get into the camera view. She doesn't have clothes on. But that's just the reality of my life. But just, the lie would pop in my head, and I have to speak truth to that. The lie in my head, speak truth. And so really for all of you that are watching or listening, what is that thing that pops in your head? Or even take a moment and just be like, okay, God, if that's how I would say to do it, okay, God, what is that lie that I'm believing about myself? And I believe that he'll answer you, and then you'll know that, wait a minute, I need to counter that lie. And so, it might be I'm not a thief. I was a child, and I took some stickers. Right. With all of the maturity and the development in my frontal lobe, right, of a child. And, and countering that, I'm an honest person. I have integrity. Right. And just to speak that over yourself, and kind of going back to the values thing, I speak things over myself as being, sometimes they're aspirational, because sometimes I act outside of myself. Sometimes, I say something snarky when I don't have to, just so I can be right. Because and for what, right? Did that really get me anywhere? Did that really get me closer to my goals? Well, if my goal is to be right, sure. But if my goal is to affect some kind of outcome, then no. You're talking about, resources. Did that really help me to advocate for the resources my team needs to be able to work effectively? Right. Snarking at people. I mean, it might work,
Right.
But that wouldn't be my first recommendation for how you would approach it. So I hope that answers your question of what you're looking for like how do you approach those insecurities?
Yeah. And one of those things that I've done to kind of help other people is to go for a walk, remove yourself from that environment. Just kind of like, because when you're in that environment, you actually feel that energy, that whatever that was around you that put you in that mindset and in that space of, you feel like you're uncomfortable, you feel like you're not worthy. Then let's remove yourself from that space, get grounded again, go to your happy place. Let's listen to some music, get some fresh air or something before you come back and tackle it on. Because one of those things is being insecure is almost a detriment to yourself and also the people around you. Because you always wind up being, I guess it was something that was mentioned, like if you don't know how to speak up for yourself, somebody will fill the words in for you. And I always take that as, you know, if be confident in what you have to say and what you stand for, to kind of help out with the insecurity. I mean, granted, we all gonna have some to some degree. We always have that voice. Like right now, I'm like, all right, man, is my shirt right? Is everybody gonna be okay? Everybody got their drinks right? Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. But I'm insecure of what the future is holding and what other people are thinking. Which brings to the point of, is being insecure something that you believe in yourself or something that other people can put into you?
I don't know that I know how to answer that. Maybe people can chat and give their thoughts on, is that something that comes out of you or that people kind of put on you? I would guess both. Generally, I think it's coming from some kind of lies is how I would phrase it. Or even if it's something that is true, right? Like, I have a family member who went to prison and now like has kind of a high up exec position with a law firm, not a lawyer, but so it's just like,
Okay.
the amazing things that you can accomplish, and so that's not her identity, right? That's not who she is. It was, she can own bad choices and not take that on as identity. That doesn't mean you have to make those same choices going forward. I mean, how does anybody accomplish great things? For anybody who's accomplished great things has had to overcome adversity. And I would imagine a layer of that is going to be in self-confidence, or self-efficacy, maybe like you're the confidence that you can actually do the job, that you have the skills to do the thing that you're trying to achieve.
Mhm.
And so if somebody tells you, no, right, you didn't get the job, didn't even get an interview. I've had that, right? I'm like, did you read my resume? Hello. Just kidding.
You looking at my LinkedIn profile?
What?
You looked at my LinkedIn profile? Like,
No. but that's life, right? And so, man, like, why didn't I get a call back? Do I have spelling errors in my resume? Did I not write it clearly? And all those things that pop up. And for me right now, like, I put in for a promotion at my 9 to 5, and they have different board levels that it has to go through, and I didn't even make it through the first board. And I'm actually like I haven't got my feedback yet, but it didn't upset me. I'm
upset for you.
it's
I
all right. It would be a little bit fast, admittedly, right? Like, I want to make sure when I get promoted that people are like, oh, what? Like, you're not already, in that position? Like, I'd rather be that. And that's how it was with my last promotion, where people are like, what? Like, I thought you were already, because that's how I demonstrate my performance, right? That I perform at that level. So it's okay. So I'm looking forward to the feedback so I can, continue to learn and grow. And okay, I'm gonna pause here and be like, I blame you, Anthony, for insecurities of drinking alcohol, which I hardly ever do on a school night while I'm live. So
All right. So with that thought, Everybody who is on live right now, I know y'all have y'all drinks ready because you're been here multiple times. So, for those of you who are on the call right now, please let me know that you guys are ready for drinks, and please say yes. Please say yes. Somebody say yes, because I know it's a huge delay. So we're going to
We
hear
probably can't type
somebody say
anymore.
yes.
If
And
you
we
get gobbledygook, then we're going to call it yes.
But it's something, even if you smash your face on the keys. All right, my mom says yes. So my mom is always ready. That's great. All right, let's go.
She's exhausted from whooping you when you're a kid.
I know, right? Hold on. What do y'all think? All right, everybody. So, what are y'all drinking out there? I know y'all drinking some good stuff because somebody said they got 6 bottles of water ready to go. I know that's right. Hey, you got an alkaline water. Hey, somebody else got water. Let's go. Seems like it's a winner for the day. Hey, Carlo just busting out laughing. Let's go. What else we got? We got D3. Got the Cabbage Patch. I am horrible dancing. We got salt water, sweet water,
Sweet water.
Oh, ooh.
Right here.
I know. I'll get it right. Let's see.
Well, I think he's great as an adult.
Well, after she gave you that beating at the Buster car window, it's a whole nother story. So, anyway,
you have to. You can't send kids out. Well, just do your part. They are their own human beings, but I don't want there to be any ambiguity about what my expectations are for you when you go off into the world. And so I need to know that mom would be okay with that or mom wouldn't be okay with that. You're still going to do whatever you're going to do. But yeah. So, and also my thought is that if you are unmarried up until the age of 26, you can be on my insurance and then you can go have some therapy. Otherwise I'm gonna do what I can to raise my kids the way that I think I should.
So I'm gonna play the song one more time because we gotta talk about our drinks. I'm sorry, we didn't even introduce.
Am I doing it wrong? I'm sorry. I've had like 4 sips and I'm like, woo.
All right, one more time because everybody loves to drink anyway. All right, I'm sorry to start. Great. So what I'm having here today, I'm gonna go down and go to a solo piece. So what I'm having is this Sweet Walter Rosé, and it's 10%. So more than likely, I'm gonna finish my drink before the show ends. So I just wanted to share that. And Raima, what do you have over there?
I'm having Sweetland Cellars Viva Sangria. And I found this one at the local, I don't know, wine place. It's kind of fancy, but I asked for something that was local to Maryland. So Sweetland Cellars is a Maryland business, and so I want to support local.
Awesome. All right. So anybody out there drinking local stuff? All right. So we got I have no clue, but it's a blood orange water. I'll go with it. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So we got our drinks out the way. Everybody else said they saw an H2O. My mom says nice. So let's go ahead on and move on to the next topic. Um, well, one of the things I didn't even talk about, which was the what is the definition of insecurity?
Oh, yeah.
Out of this whole time, we were actually talking about it.
Oops, I thought that, but
But I love to give definitions because as we were talking about the show and insecurity and everything like that, talking about the uncertainty or anxiety about yourself and lack of confidence, the state of being open to danger or threat, lack of protection. So, we talk. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I had to listen to this. Carl, you need to stop drinking Mad Dog 2020.
Stop it. Okay, nobody's had that since high school. Stop it. I mean, somebody else. I heard other people doing that.
Right. Mad Dog 2020. All right, so with the Wild Irish Rose, I actually saw that was actually pretty cool on standby. And apparently a lot of people love this wacky saxophone. So, but are you ready for pod decks? Now that everybody got their drinks, we ready for the next segment?
Sure.
Alrighty. All right, everybody. Stay tuned for pod decks. Hold tight.
This episode is powered by Pod Decks. Pod decks are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience and have more meaningful conversations, you're going to want to check out Pod decks. Now, if you want to get 10% off your order right now, you can go to poddecks.com and type in coupon code. What's the code? Yes, that's the code. Check out poddecks.com. Take your podcast to the next level.
I don't even know what you're laughing at.
I'm laughing at this. Carla's great. She said that, what about our wallet? We drink at home. Right. I'm going to play some background music here. Because we have pod decks, and for those of you who are listening to the audio version, with pod decks, if you're out there to get your own version of pod decks, you can actually use the promo code wallet and actually save 10% off. And the cool thing about pod decks is that it comes with a variety of decks, digital decks that I have on my phone here, and the physical decks that you see in the back, 5 different decks. And with that, you actually get to ask questions, and they're great for dating. They're great for getting to know somebody, even if you're just doing a one-on-one with somebody, and you just want to spice up your questions. So for today's question, and I'm focusing on the philosophy deck, and this one goes to talk about: does living your life for others make your life have more meaning?
I think it does. There's the Insecurities, talking about scripture verses when I can't remember where I read it. So this is Raima paraphrasing scripture. So it goes something like this. What does it mean if you say to your friend, hey, be fed and be clothed, and you don't give your brother or sister anything to wear or anything to eat? Mm-hmm. And I think it's a great combination of that faith and works from a Christian perspective. And so I like it. It doesn't mean anything to just be like, I'll be praying for you. I'll pray for you. That you need to do something practical for people. Mm-hmm. So, if you've got a, friend who's a family member in the hospital or something like that, like bring them a meal, clean their bathroom, watch their kids, something like that, like something that's really tangible, that's going to be meaningful. And so I think in that way, when we're serving people around us, like, yeah, I think it is fulfilling. That being said, I also that's kind of my personal calling, is encouraging others. And so recognizing that I have a bias in that I personally receive a lot of joy in watching the success of others and contributing to the success of others. I don't know what it's like for somebody else who might have to think about that if they're used to just being more selfish. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Probably somebody out here who tell you that I'm in some ways, but yes, I think that helping others makes your life more fulfilling. What do you think?
Me personally, I think it does, because it actually adds a little bit of value to the things that you do. Just kind of makes life feel like a little bit more meaningful. Because if you focus on yourself the whole time, then it's like, well, what are you doing for others? You know, but it's okay to be selfish at times. But how do you create a balance? And that's one of the things I kind of trying to figure out. It's like, what is a good balance of giving? Because a lot of people are great gift givers, but if you got a big family and you're like, man, I gotta get gifts for everybody, plus their kids, you're gonna choose. Even though you kind of feel bad and do a couple one-offs here and there, like outside the birthdays, outside the holidays. And it's like I do feel like that I do have a great time giving things to people that actually add value. And so that's one of the reasons why I love doing the show, is that because I'm reaching so many people and actually helping their lives and helping out to add value to some degree. And actually everybody that's been watching the show and actually supporting me along the way has really been pouring into me and providing me with some of the resources, some of the things to come up with, some of the topics. And like for you, Raima, just for being on the show, I greatly appreciate you for taking the time out of your day. I know with the kids and the family and everything like that. And you've been really helping me, and I can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Stop us more.
Right. Yeah, because
Absolutely.
one of those things, it's one of those things we want to do. So I want to open up the phone lines to anybody who actually want to give a call. Call me now for your free reading at 833-699-2558. We either can talk about products, or we can talk about your insecurities, and we can talk about your finances all together. So I just want to open it up to everybody who wants to make a phone call to kind of talk to Raima. But while we're waiting for that phone call to come through, can you talk about your Post-it mania in the background?
Oh my. Yes. Well, so first I just want to call out this for the listeners that D3 chatted, you should help others that can't help you in return. And yes, I mean, that's such a beautiful thing. I'm actually pretty bad at receiving gifts, but I enjoy giving them. So people who know me know that I'm just like, just let me pay. Just like, stop trying to block my love language. Okay. Like just take it. And, I don't know that I'll always be in a position to be able to do that. And there were times in my life where I wasn't in a position to do that, but for this window that I am, then, I can't take it with me. Okay. The Post-its behind me. So this stuff is mostly school related. I mentioned earlier when we got on that I am working towards a doctorate in strategic leadership through Liberty University. And I definitely have to practice a lot of positive self-talk with that, because who are you to go get a doctorate, right? When I think of somebody who is like, wow, that person, can go, achieve such a high level of education. Like I don't see myself as that kind of person, but I really want to be Dr. Raima. And I can't write beats like Dr. Dre. So I have to do something where I can legitimately earn the title. And so over here I have like the different thesis ideas for when I do my doctoral thesis. So I kind of just topics that really interest me, I just kind of put them off to the side. So when the time comes, I'm still a few years away, but when the time comes, I can focus on that. And then in the middle part, I have just notes that I've picked up. So when my instructors give me feedback, I want to make sure that I incorporate that feedback as I move forward. So that's kind of that collection there about how I can be more clear in my writing. Any technical mistakes that I might make, I put those, that's kind of there in the middle. And then on this other side over here, that's a little bit more business related. They're not my business goals because I intentionally moved all my pile o madness out of the view of the camera. This is not typically what my desk looks like, but y'all don't need to see all of that. But I do a lot of Post-its. So yeah, so I just, it's to write the thought to get it out of my brain. That way it's not circling in there because there's a whole lot going on in there and I need to kind of release some of it. It's a lot.
That's awesome that you actually have like a nice system, especially keeping it light. Because a lot of people just don't take advantage of that.
And I realized that. So this is more like aspirational stuff. So these are business related. I have one of these has my values on it. And so I have positivity / encouraging others, integrity, personal responsibility / accountability, and personal growth. And so I want to make sure that goals that I set align with those things that are really kind of foundational to who I naturally am. And then I've got some book titles because I have lots of books that I want to write. And yeah, so that's the rest of the stuff that's up at the top there.
Now, because I know you and I, we were talking about writing books and everything like that. And so is that like one of your insecurities, or would that actually be one of the topics in your book?
Yes. Yes, that is huge. And I think it's good to put things in the light. And so that's why I tell people I'm going to be working on a book. I'm going to work on a book. I actually didn't tell people that I was going to school for a doctorate for probably my first semester. I had to tell my supervisor at my 9 to 5 because I wanted to get some reimbursement, some tuition assistance reimbursement. So I had to say it there. But I was really self-conscious about telling people because like it's going to take me 5 to 6 years. And I look forward to being on your show again when I actually can put my diploma up there. But I am really insecure about writing a book again. Like, who am I to publish a book? But I have a lot of ideas in my head and I want to share them with as many people as possible. I want people to be encouraged, and not everybody has access to have one-on-one mentoring with me. And so I want to capture some of those encouraging words and just kind of some practical things that can help you feel more encouraged as you're living out your life. I want to codify those and put them out there. And then I also want that book to reflect my personality. So I want it to be fun and a little bit silly and a little bit like this, just a little bit crazy. Yeah, so I want some of that in there. But the way that I addressed my insecurities are that I don't just talk about the book. Like right now, like whatever all of y'all are thinking, nana, you can't tell me. So I have my Anthony and he encourages me. So man, so I'm mindful about who I share that with. If you have family members or friends who just like, yo, like, why do you say like, oh, do you really think that's a good idea? Is that, like, shouldn't you, be spending that time with your family or whatever? Like people like that. Like I'm not talking about my goals. I'm not talking about the trade-offs that I'm making, right? Like my husband and I, we partner together so that I could achieve some of these things that I want to achieve. And also because I could put the words into a book and I'm not talking his ear off. So love you.
You can come on the show, talk my ear off. I'm okay.
Thank you. Thanks. And it's funny because if I'm in a coaching or mentoring session, kind of two separate things, but I don't do very much talking. I ask a lot of questions and I'm also really nosy. So I like to know all your business. So in those situations, I typically don't, unless somebody's, so coaching is more of the asking questions and mentoring is more of the knowledge transfer. And so there's a context for both. And so typically the person I'm meeting with, we're intentional about what it is that we're trying to achieve. And so it may be more of a teaching environment or just kind of helping somebody kind of work through their own goals and things like that. so sorry. The first thing that I've done to address my insecurities about writing a book are to be mindful about who I share that with. And I don't share that with people who there's a high likelihood of negativity coming back to me, because that would really like, I'm kind of sensitive too. So then I'd be upset over this one person out of all of the encouraging people. I would be upset about that would hurt my feelings. And then the other thing that I did was hire a writing coach. And I'm very grateful that I'm in a position to be able to do that. I know not everybody is, but that also that my, again, these are decisions that I make in partnership with my husband, that we prioritize these things. So I am really excited. His name is Andy Bunch, and he's out in Washington State, and just really clicked with him. He understands my values. He understands my goals. He's helping me to address like how I'm going to get from here to where I'm going. I have a lot of self-doubt over whether or not I can actually finish it over the summer. And so I'm trying to really let myself just be okay with that. So yes. It's
awesome to hear, like, the beginning stages of your project, because every person that's come on this show so far that said that they wanted to achieve something have managed to achieve it within 3 to 4 months. Like, I would say, what's her name? Chloe from Off Our Hustle. Mm-hmm. Her thing, she was like, I just want to work remotely and I want to go to Korea. Within 2 months, because she put it out there in the universe, she was able to go ahead on and get the job approved. She went on over in Korea, just having a great time. And I was like, that is really cool that you just talked about it on my show, to say, hey, I would really love to do this. And now she's actually doing it. That's just one example of many. We have so many people just said that they wanted to start selling on Amazon. I think Eric from Red Mountain Resale, he was actually saying like he wanted to start selling a little bit more shoes and focus on what he wanted to do. And now he's actually doing it and doing it really well. And these are the things like I love about the show, is catching people early, because then you can look back and it's like, you know what? I did say that and I am going to achieve it. And that's one of the things I love about like talking to people early on. Now for myself, it just takes a while for me because I know it can be done. I'm just lazy.
Says the man who, built the whole fancy slideshow to go with your intro. You got your branding colors. You've got your equipment set up. You're doing this cool like music coming in. But yeah, I'm a call BS on that one. I'm gonna speak against that lie right there. Right. that you're lazy. I don't buy that for 1 second.
I am lazy. I'm trying to remember. I have a sound bite and I really want to touch it because I'm not sure what it is.
Don't touch it.
It's what we got our first caller. Hold on.
Grasshopper, call for extension.
Hello.
Well, we got our first caller.
Somebody is listening to the actual
No, they need to mute.
Yeah, they need to mute the YouTube version on their
mute?
Yes, and talk to me on the phone because you're live.
I got it. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mom. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Should I mute it? I'm mute now?
No, I can hear you now. We here.
Oh,
Raima,
you can hear me now.
Yes, Raima and I are here. Yes.
Hi, Raima.
Hi.
Conversation. Hi. I just want to tell you, it's a good show. Very informative. Insecurity, yes. Love the show. Love it. Love it. Great points about insecurities, and made a good point whether or not insecurities come from someone else or come from, something you create. And I think insecurities a lot of times come from other people, because when we get up in the mirror, we look at ourselves as, they say you're gorgeous, but then you may say, okay, no, this person say I have this wrong, or someone may say I need to lose weight, or, I guess comparing yourself to someone else can also cause insecurities too.
Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that because as children, your parents will
Mm-hmm.
say one thing like, hey, you're handsome or you're gorgeous. But then the outside
Mm-hmm.
society will say, oh, you're ugly. And why you have your hair like this? And why you have dirty nails and stuff like that. They nitpick it. And then it's like, well, are my parents lying or is society, when I go out in the real world, is lying? So, and that's
I never gave it that thought. Like,
but I mean, it just brought up the question because, hearing somebody to say one thing and then it's like, well, then who do you give words of power in your life to actually like where you take that value in? I don't get.
right. And a lot of times you give it to peers. Yeah,
I mean, Raima, what are your
that's
thoughts on
true.
So I think the quote goes something on lines of comparison is the thief of joy, something like that. So yeah, I hadn't thought about that in our conversation so far, but that's so true. Compare ourselves to others, and I just want to take a moment to call out social media literacy. In that, how many pictures do you take before you post one to social media, right? How much thought do you put into what you post? And it's very two-dimensional, and it can be very superficial. And also, I don't want to read people's sob stories, so I really only want to read like how great your life is. And then, but I mean, that can be problematic. And so, just being mindful of, the person whose photo you're looking at, they don't even look like that, right? They got a filter on there. They, edited love handles. Like they don't look like that. The family's all smiling, they're fighting. Like you better smile. Cause I mean, okay. And that's just me. I'm like, if y'all would just smile, we wouldn't have to take 47 pictures, just smile all at the same time. And I got 6 kids trying to get them all to smile and look at the camera. Like, but when you got that one, that's what you all see is the one picture out of the 112, and including the ones that be like yelling at my kids. Yeah. That's so true.
So true. Wow, that's awesome. But yes, great show. Congratulations on your doctorate also. That's great.
Thank you. Please be keep me in your positive thoughts and prayers for the next 3 years is my goal. So yeah.
Yeah, you can do it.
Thank you.
Alrighty, just want to say it's a good show.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. You're gonna have to take me to see your mom now, right? You know that, right?
Well, anyway. I saw what to press this button. I don't even know what's on here. Hold on. Oh, that's my all one. Okay.
Oh, so sweet. Yeah. One like really big potential, well, not big, it's a big one that has some deep roots in, for me, for insecurities, is racial identity. That's not something that we really got into in this conversation, but that's something that is on my list of books to write, is to talk about what I would call the idolatry of race. Meaning like, where do we get our sense of self and who we are? And so just kind of my story as a mixed person. I'm my dad's Black, my mom's white. I'm the mother of white babies and the mother of brown babies. And me being mixed, my younger sister being mixed, her husband is Black, my husband is white. When the kids come together, like they are cousins. The boys only care about video games and watching videos of people playing video games. And like, when you look at the family, it's clear that there's something going on here, but they're cousins, right? And so, but just there's so much happening societally around race and how we interact with each other, and so that's just something that maybe I don't know if I want to have that conversation, I'll probably cry. But when you're talking about hair and things like that. Like I had a recent incident that I shared with you, but where I was treated pretty horribly by some people, and I think it was related to how they perceived me, and and it was it not, I don't know, but it brought up all these insecurities about am I in the club, am I not in the club, the whole like you talk like a white girl thing. I can't help, I'm from California, like I can't help it. So is it the type of music that I listen to? Is it the way I wear my hair? Is it the way that I speak? Like are those the things that determine my where I'm on a scale of blackness? Like I don't, I can't help it. Like I mean, my mom's having freckles. Like I came out pale. I can't, I had the genes. If I would be darker, I wish I could be, but it's just kind of how I came out. So, that's it.
Those things that I haven't really dived into. I mean, if you got time, I got time.
I got a little bit of time. I usually turn to a pumpkin at 9, so we'll see how far I can go. I had to stop at like 5 sips because it was.
Yeah, I'm.
I can speak more clearly.
Yeah, I had a refill, so yeah, this is my second done.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, again, it's only like 10%. I can finish the bottle tonight.
I don't know what that means.
Well, usually I'm drinking like 70% proof, and for this to be 10%, I'm like, it's like water, like Kool-Aid, really. So it's so simple.
I can't even drink a glass of sangria over the course of an hour. I'm like, I can't. I'm glad I'm home because I cannot drive.
Tumbling up the steps. Yes.
You blew a .000000001. Why are you swerving on the road?
Right. So D3 wrote in something here. Nothing wrong with having a vocabulary, no matter what. You have to be proud of the package that you come in. And one of the cool things about that is that when it comes to, again, what we talked about. Okay, you know what, Carla? Yes, I'm drinking Sprite because y'all can tell when the alcohol has hit me a little differently. And yes, I've been pretty much a lightweight today.
I'm rubbing off on you.
Right. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a third glass for everybody to see.
You do not have to give into the peer pressure.
Oh, I love it.
Or were you looking for an excuse?
Yes, an excuse for another.
Well, I mean, since you brought it up, I guess I'm gonna have another.
Oh, since we brought it up, so you know what time.
I have another sip. You have another glass.
Right. You know what time that is. Y'all know what time that is. So, anyway,
this is serious. We are talking about insecurities.
Yes. But anyway, we talk about insecurities because I mean, granted, it is a hard time, something to talk about. Oh my gosh, why are you talking about this Mad Dog 20? I'm not touching it. I'm sorry. I used to drink Mad Dog 2020 with vodka and just to give it a little extra kick. Oh yeah, going straight in. It's amazing. But yeah, so I have a good tolerance. So if you want to party all night, hey, just bring alcohol. I'm good to go. So yes, we're very judgmental.
If you are grown and you pay your own bills,
hey,
you can drink your Mad Dog.
It's called personal finance for a reason, right? But when we talked about the insecurities, I know it's going to be a horrible show going forward.
This is a great show. Talk about your own self, okay?
It's going to be a great show. So,
right? Thank you.
Personal finance, but we're also talking about the colorism side of the house. Mm-hmm. And, with the colorism that goes on, and trying to figure out like the insecurities of being inside your own skin. Perfect example was, it's hard to be serious with this song.
Right. Like, people talking about Mad Talk. So I what I would say to that is like it's throwing off my black-white balance. I'm like, I can't. This is throwing off my black-white balance.
My black. Oh my gosh, Carla gonna talk about some. It's $4.99.
Well, so this is $16.
Oh, $16.
Yeah, and at the Magathy something or other in Savannah Park.
Oh, nice.
Magathy.
This one was only $11.99. All right, we can't go into another round of that.
Okay.
It's like, I cannot.
Okay, what are we? Okay,
We were talking about.
serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's ask a question.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. The question was like, how do we go about I'm gonna say diving into being secure in our own skin? Because one, does education help you or scare you versus ignorance is bliss? To
As
be
it
in your own
as
skin.
it pertains to
To just being comfortable in your own skin. Because, you know, like they say, as being black in society, I actually saw a black person getting pulled over, and they got pulled over, but both hands were on the steering wheel pretty tight. And I'm like, okay. But I understand where he's coming from. It was an older guy, but I guess he watched TV a lot and kind of figured, you know, hey, I don't want to have any implications on what it is. And having the talk as a black person in America, I mean, you kind of already get comfortable of like, hey, this is kind of typically what we do, versus looking at the cop as, hey, he's just doing his job. He or she is just doing their job. And being secure enough to think like, hey, I'm also a citizen here in the United States, versus, you know, hey, I'm treated like an outside or second class citizen in the United States. One of those things is that I haven't talked about this on the show, but it's like, how can we, I would say, how can we as a society ever feel comfortable to be secure in our own skin? And I know it's not a question that we can answer right now, but it's just something to think about as we go through. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think part of it, you're asking about ignorance is bliss versus seeking education. And I think if we're narrowing the topic specifically to the police officer example that you had mentioned, I think knowing the truth would actually alleviate a lot of fears. Our history in America is very real, and certainly there's ripple effects that are in place today. But there is actually a lot of recent research, including research by Black academics. And the reality of it is that cops are not targeting Black people. There's a lot of data around that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not out just killing unarmed Black men. And unarmed does not necessarily mean that there's no danger, right? And so I think knowing the truth might help that a little bit. That aside, I really appreciate there's this organization called the FAIR Foundation. So it's FAIR, the Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism, and they advocate a pro-human approach, and that's something that I can really grasp onto because. For me saying that I'm a Christian, that can invoke thoughts in people, right? Like, unfortunately, people do bad stuff in Jesus' name. I do not condone that. That also wasn't me who did it, so don't hold that against me. But I can recognize that, there are people who claim to be Christians who did things that I don't think are biblical. Or maybe they are, and I don't agree with how they went about it or whatever it is. And so I can still, like, at my local Sephora, there's a trans woman who works there. And, I've had some interactions with her. I'm expecting for her to be able to give me advice on skincare, right? Like, and makeup. And when I'm out with my 12-year-old, I want for my 12-year-old to be, to have good customer service. So the nail salon that I go to, they treat my baby like a princess. And, because I think I'm generally a pretty calm person, but when it comes to my kids, I can go from 0 to crazy like pretty fast, and get a little bit irrational, like, puff up on people like, what, don't make me
Don't take.
And so that's what I'm looking for, right? And so here's this person who, so just in conversation, and just over the course of time of interacting with this person, because my privileged 12-year-old is playing makeup. I don't recommend this. I just, okay. And so I just mentioned like, I really appreciate you sharing your story with me. I kind of fall into that conservative Christian bucket. And she went like this, like flinched.
Wow.
Now, I didn't flinch
Right.
at you as a trans person,
Mm-hmm.
but you flinched about me as a Christian. So part of it is that came from somewhere, right? And that wasn't me. And part of it is like, maybe you need to rethink your bigotry, right? That's how you came at me. But I think that pro-human perspective is something that still aligns with my values. So it's not a secular humanist, meaning that we put humans above all people, but it means that every single human being from the womb to the tomb, right, has inherent value. That from my perspective, you are created in the image of God. That includes the trans woman at my local Sephora. That includes the person who cut me off to work. That includes the coworker who's really toxic.
Mm-hmm.
That includes the politician that I don't like. That person was created in the image of God. That person has inherent value and deserves to be treated with dignity. And so I make a choice. So what I would say to myself is, I treat everyone with kindness and respect. The reality is sometimes I act outside of that value statement that I've made, right? But I'm professing that this is how I'm going to interact with the world around me, that you are somebody who has intrinsic value because you are a human being on planet Earth. You are a human having a human experience. And I want to say it was a trans woman who said that, but that really resonates. So I think at its core, I would love for that to be the message that we are teaching our children to value the humanity, to not other people, right? Like those people over there. I would love to see that. That's something that I advocate for. And as we've discussed before, like I get triggered by DEI.
Yeah, I had a long every conference that I go to and they talk about diversity, always bring up the fact I was like, I hope they say diversity because I just want to dig in. Like, well, if you say diversity, do you actually mean that everybody's treated the same or act the same? Which is the answer is typically no. So then diversity should never pertain to the human being because we're all different. So like how you and I, we talked back and forth multiple times about this, is like, I love what you said about inclusion. And I've been stealing it the whole time. Like,
I'm sure it was really profound. What did I say?
well, you said that in the short sentence is that if we have inclusion, we cover diversity and equality. And I was like, then why don't we just call it an inclusion thing? Instead of just trying to separate all these other things when inclusion encompasses all of it. Because if we make I would say maybe just call it RI, which is representation and inclusion. Because you can have inclusion, but not have representation. And I think that if we can have representation, we can also include inclusion. So, and I think if we change it to a RI perspective, I think it would actually be pretty cool.
That's probably something that I could get behind. I would throw out there though, I actually, I don't know, maybe one of these years when I have a blog, I'll talk about this, but about please stop telling me that unless there's somebody who looks like me, that I can achieve that thing. Like, I'm ethnically ambiguous, non-white presenting is what I call it.
Right.
If you think I look white, like, just keep it to yourself. I have insecurities about that. Okay. But like, I don't see people who look like I do. I don't see people where, like, people typically like will think that I'm Hispanic. I'm like, sure, we can go with that. I had one person who, no kidding, thought that I was Korean. What? I mean, okay, sure, annyeonghaseyo, but I don't, like, I don't know where you got that from. And so I'm not offended by that. That's just the reality, is that you're talking about kind of those norms, right? Like, my physical appearance is outside of those norms. Mm-hmm. I don't think that your physical appearance is outside of societal norms, outside of norms of being an American, right? Certainly there are places in America where you don't see that type of diversity, right? You could, where it's predominantly Black or predominantly white, or, whatever it might be. But like, I'm not going to get upset personally about, there's nobody who looks like me in a position. So when you talk about representation, I don't think representation is a physical perspective, right? It's who is representing my interests, and my interests aren't based on my racial identity. Right. My interests have to do with, do I have the opportunity to compete, the way that somebody else does, right? Is my promotion package being evaluated fairly against my peers? Those kind of things, right? That's what we can demand. And I think we can do ourselves a disservice at looking for reasons to not take legitimate feedback. And I witnessed that too as a mentor, right? I have had the unfortunate experience of having to coach somebody through filing an EEO complaint for what was like a really disturbingly blatant example of sexism. It was so disheartening to witness, and for this person who is a really hard worker and is still successful. And then, conversely, I have somebody who's filing an EEO complaint for racism that, and I was put as a witness, and I'll share, what I saw, that I don't see the race factor in there. I saw legitimate, reasonable feedback that had nothing to do with physical characteristics. But now this person can't even hear the legitimate feedback through that filter of, well, it's because I'm Black in this case, and like, that's really, that hurts my heart. Like, in any other case, it hurts my heart when it's really overt and obvious. And when it's like, I'm not going to dismiss this person's experience. But like, there's still a missed opportunity. And I mean, I was in the Marine Corps. Like, I'm Marines, I love you. Like, I hold on to my identity as a Marine. But man, y'all are sexist.
We do have some veterans in the chat, by the way, just to let you know. So
say again.
We do have some veterans in the chat, by the way.
Okay. And even my husband, like, he has some stuff where I'm like, so my husband, who, while I'm in here, he popped his head in to see if I was done, so he can like come get ready for bed. No, I'm not done yet. So my husband, who took care of the baby, made sure she had dinner, gave her a bath, all that stuff, whatever. And but so I can do these things that are really important to me. Yeah. And he still says some stuff where I'm like, man, that's sexist, So what does it mean? What does it mean if my husband, has some thoughts that are, women being a little bit inferior? Like, he still, totally supports me, all these things that I'm doing, right? There's no way I'm sitting on your podcast. There's no way I'm writing a book. There's no way I'm getting a doctorate without my husband. Like, I have an amazing partner in the midst of his kind of sexist comments sometimes. So,
yeah.
I guess another layer of, I think Thomas Sowell, Sowell, if you haven't heard of him, that's the racism in America, because he's fabulous. Like, scripture and Thomas Sowell, that's like how you get to my thinking. So he talks about causal weight, I think is the term. So for the sexism that I've experienced, I've experienced less racism than I have sexism. So for the sexism that I've experienced, how much did it actually impact my career progression? And my best guess is that I may have earned my last promotion a year earlier. So I'm 45, and my best guess is that it made a 1-year impact. And I can't even prove that that's the case. I'm not filing a complaint about it, like whatever. But that's my best guess. And so reflecting on really how much did it impact? There's the psychological impact when we experience unfairness, and how we navigate that. But even in the midst of the sexist Marine Corps, where people said stuff where it was just just really overtly ridiculous stuff that people would say. But I was the honor grad out of my tech school. I was Marine of the Year at my local command, my first year at my duty station.
Mhm.
And I made sergeant, which is E5, a year to the day before the next person in my peer group.
Wow.
While people are talking about my, how I can't do things that men can do and things like that. And so even though, these guys who really believed in their superiority, right?
Yeah.
And so it's both and. I was able to be successful with some, having to work through some emotional stuff there too, and being around some people who are sexist.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to those insecurities, like moving beyond the societal norms and actually finding confidence in everything that you have, in your willpower, and actually make society available to you, regardless of who was in your way. And I commend you for doing that. D3 brought up something while you were discussing things, and they said exactly. Sometimes they think diversity is just putting a person of color in a position, but without the rights / power that others have. And we've seen that in multiple, I don't say multiple cases, but we have seen that to some degree where it's like, oh yeah, we'll give you this title, but you can't tell people what to do. Or yeah, we'll put you in this position, but yeah, you don't do anything, you just kind of show face. And that kind of almost is a slap in the face for that person that's taking that position. But also it comes to, in what do they call it? Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. Oh man, why is all the good stuff coming up now?
Oh, right. It's
So
coming.
true. All right, you have to
might-
explain to people what that is.
Yeah. We probably have to end the show here on that. Because
My husband's trying to go to bed. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
All right. Okay. I'll end it in 7 minutes. So
Okay.
is that okay? Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. So with imposter syndrome, it's you thinking that you're doing awesome things. Well, why aren't you coming up here? If you're the first person to do it, it's okay, well, I made it, but not knowing the back end information that actually take you to that next level, and how many strings that people had to pull to put you in that position. But then you think about it they got me here, but they don't want me to do anything. So then it's do you take it upon yourself to not do anything while you're in that position because they're going to pay you regardless? Or do you take it upon yourself to start advocating hey, I'm going to start bringing up more people because I'm doing it since I'm here? That means that it's a possibility that somebody else can be here. Because seeing you rise amongst the ranks, I'm well, it's doable for a lot of people then. Why not? Let's make it.
I have freckles. So
a little bit. I'm trying.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. People can't see. I'm pretty freckly. I've got.
Yeah.
I shaved. So I'm fresh for today. I don't have that going on, but.
Got the lipstick shaver while you.
I'm sorry. Okay, this isn't even an insecurity. I'm sorry. This is being 40 something. That why is it the one hair? Okay, can I get a woman in the chat, please? I am not the only one where it's just and you don't see it until it's an inch long. I'm sorry, I digress, but that's just real life. I'm just sorry. If my for my family, if you've got good eyesight and I'm missing my random chin hair, if you love me, you better pluck that, okay? Like, out of love.
You be like, hold straight, hold on.
Okay, what did I tell you about my? Okay, I got one there too. I got one here, and I got one.
I was just joking. I was just joking.
I don't think I told you that. Did you see it? Did you
No,
see it, Anthony? And then you're just like money. Like, don't just put it on me. Okay, what are we? Okay, hold on. This is I can't drink and do this with my I'm up to like 7 sips now.
7 sips, really.
Imposter syndrome. I hadn't heard it explained the way that you explained it. My understanding is that it's feeling like you're not qualified for the position that you're in, and kind of waiting for people to find out. And that's certainly something that I've experienced, of being like, I'm not qualified to be here. Yeah.
I have a book for that, and I was actually given by my mom's husband, called the Peter Principle, which is talking about everybody's promoted to the next level of incompetence, which is like kind of what you want in a sense, because you don't want to know everything, because then you won't be inquisitive and I start asking questions, start asking the right questions on why things are being the same way. But going to having that imposter syndrome of being the only Black person, or the only person, of color inside that particular position, how do you navigate in such a position when you're the only one? And the reason why I asked that question is because I asked this exact same question to Chloe, who is Asian and a woman, and she was like, I love being a minority when she applied for jobs, because she is like, all the opportunities are there, people are willing to accept her as she is and actually give her everything that she needs. So have you actually experienced that as being usually the only person of color inside some of the rooms that you're in?
So we're actually a whole leadership team of Black women. The one that I work for, and the 2 who work for me, and then of course then we have our team from there. So so there's that. I will say I live my life as the only. So if I walk into a room full of Black people, or I walk into a room full of white people, or I walk into a room full of Hispanic people, there's always this sense of other. And so I don't know what it's like to feel at home because of my primary physical characteristics.
Gotcha.
I don't know what that's like. And so I think that's different for people who have had that experience, where they walk into a room and it's people who look like they do. I don't have that. I have places where I feel a sense of belonging. Typically, I feel comfortable with my church family. I don't look anything like that. I don't look like my church family, right? Like I don't. We don't look like siblings, you know? But I love my church family. Like those are the people who will, pray for me and do stuff for me, right? I feel comfortable with my immediate family, right? With my sister. So, I mean, man, I don't know if it's sad or great, but my younger sister, she's my BFF. I love her. I fantasize about like finding like a property, like how the Mormons do, where it's like the multiple families. Like I want that. Like I'm like, if I was a little bit less healthy, I'd be totally codependent with my sister. Like, can I marry my sister? I don't mean to be twisted. I just mean like I love my sister.
Well, we do have 30 seconds left. I'm sorry. I know.
No, I need to go to bed.
Yes. So let's leave everybody with one word of encouragement as they go on about that day and start to think about for the rest of the week until next Wednesday. Do you have anything to say for them?
Oh, yes. You have value. Just as you are. You were created intentionally. The things that you are naturally good at, the things that maybe aren't your jam, like that's how you were created. That's how it was meant to be. The other thing is that there is no book that lists what your limits are. So yeah, I'm probably not going to make it to the NBA. I'm 5'5", but there's nobody who can predict how high I can jump, how well I can dribble a ball. Like there's nowhere that's documented. And so for you, just keep pressing forward to the things that you're passionate about. Be mindful about who you share your dreams with, and surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you, and just believe in yourself and find others who believe in you.
I love it. See, that's why you're an awesome guest to be on the show.
I mean it. I just want us to have a better place.
All right. Well, I just want to run down the list and say thank you, Mom D3, Carla, Patrice for showing up, Dr. Green. Who else we had on here? So it looks like that's all we have for today. And I would just want to thank everybody else who did not comment, because I know so many of you here on the show that's watching right now, either on Twitch or even on YouTube. And I just want to thank you all for joining the show. Hopefully you have a good day and got something out of this particular live. So please make sure you like, subscribe, and actually leave a comment down below on what are your insecurities, because I would like to know. And I think Raima would definitely love to check that out because we have a lot to say about it. Thank you all, and you be safe. I'm out.